Hey everyone, welcome. Brandice Lardner here today. She resides with her family in Clearwater, Florida, and she is a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach and #1 selling best author on Amazon. Now, her mission in life is to help women ditch the diet mentality and find peace with food and their bodies so that they are better equipped to do the great things that God's called them to do. Now, I'm really excited that you're here with us today, Brandice, because your topic, why body image will keep you stuck, really interests me a lot, because honestly, I hadn't given body image much thought until we connected. And I was reminded of something that actually happened to me after I lost 200 pounds. So we invited this lady to come over, and she remembers me when I was big, okay? So she gets here and she looks at me and she goes, "Wow, have you ever lost a lot of weight?" And then right after that, she says, "Man, are your ears ever big?" And I'm like, really? You know, you work so hard, right, to lose weight, and then somebody picks you apart with something that you don't like about yourself. Because, yeah, my ears are a little big, you know, thank you to my mother. But here's the thing. Body image when you're really, really big, obviously is an issue. I mean, I used to do a lot of fat jokes because, I was hiding behind them, and I try to, get out there and do them first before anybody would say anything to me. But here I am, I reached my goal weight, and I still have a body image problem because not only are my ears bigger, but when you lose a lot of weight, you've got a lot of excessive skin. So it's like, we're never happy where we're at, right? And so my first question for you is, why is body image so important?
Oh boy. You know how I long for the days when women just wore sacks and, long dresses, and the only people they came in contact with were the few women at the market, right? And even then, I suspect that we still struggled with comparing ourselves to others. But right now we are in this age of the internet and social media where things are filtered and primed and everything is so perfect. And yet it's not, right? We're living with kind of this false sense of what's important. And truly, the world around us would prioritize the outward appearance over everything else. In fact, they've surveyed women, and many would choose to lose a limb over gaining 10 pounds. It's just really kind of shifted our focus, and it's keeping so many people from living the lives that God has called them to do because we're so focused on ourselves and all these things that we aren't in an external way that really, when you think about it, when you really dig deep, when you really get beneath it all, probably is not that important to you, that it keeps us from really living what God calls us to. So I won't get too far ahead, but it matters because it steals your joy and it keeps your mind on you, which is never a happy place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you watch TikTok and you watch all of, Instagram and all these things where everybody's so enamored by reels, right? And they want to look perfect. But yet on the other hand, you have this movement that says, we're not into body shaming, right? It's kind of confusing out there, isn't it, really? I think it is.
Absolutely. I've seen several fashion, houses only display women who are overweight now. So now it's the opposite. Now they won't employ any thin, and it's still focusing on the outside, right? We're still focused on the outside rather than getting into really the heart of the matter and where our peace and contentment come from. And, as you know, you can lose weight. I've been in phases in my life where I was at an ideal body weight, air quotes, if you're just listening to the audio, and I was still miserable. And it wasn't until I fixed the inside that the outside just started to be part of me and not something that I focused on all the time.
Right. So tell me more about your topic. Why bad body image keeps people stuck? I mean, that's very relevant, I think, in today's world.
Absolutely. And it just blows your mind when you start to think about it, how this cycle keeps us in a rut. First of all, when we're only focused on the outside. So if you are only making healthy eating choices and exercising because of the weight issue, right? This outside thing that you're trying to fix, it's really, really hard to stay consistent. Because as you know, you could have a weekend where you're out with the girls or, on a family vacation and you eat poorly and you come home and you've lost weight. Or you could have a time where you followed your diet so strictly and you gained weight. Oh, the tragedy, right? Our weight is not under our direct control. And if we hang everything on what the outside looks like, we're never going to be consistent enough with our exercise and nourishment to actually see the changes. So we're kind of stymieing ourselves by looking at an outcome rather than looking what we can actually control. The other thing that's really interesting is from a deeper kind of emotional standpoint. Listen, I spent many years isolated because of a couple things. One, being ashamed in my skin. And two, not wanting to be out and about around all the food that I had developed fear of. And by isolating myself, I was missing out on the solution to my problems, which, let's get this, like, I wasn't connecting with people, right? That fills my spirit. That like having those connections with other people is emotional relief. We can relieve our stress. We feel that acceptance and that unconditional love when we're around others. And I stayed home with the food, right? And I further exacerbated that. Or pretty typical, I was a personal trainer. There's a lot of women who would not start working out until they lost weight. Well, in our body image, we're allowing that outward sign to keep us from seeking the solution. And if we start living our lives like we're okay with where we are, we actually start to give ourselves the tools, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, and the mental nourishment that we need to have a healthy relationship with food and not be overeating and not in the habits that led to the overweight in the first place. And it's backwards, but there's relief in knowing that you could actually do it. And when we see the broken system, you can go, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful that it's not all me. I was just using the wrong tools and had the wrong focus.
Right. Tools is something that's very important because I think that in our mindset, the association between how we're perceived by our friends and even our relationship with food is kind of something that we shouldn't focus on, right? It should be something that starts in here, in our mind, right? So what's the first step somebody can do towards that? I mean, you talk about tools. There's probably a lot of different tools, so that really interests me too.
Yeah. So listen, I am a therapy veteran. Like if I had the money back that I've spent on counselors, in treatment patient, psychologists, psychiatrists, this kind of stuff, I'd be set for life, right? So I've definitely seen a lot of tools and we could go over some things, but I really want to get back to what made a difference for me because yes, I'm a believer. My Christian faith is really important to me. Whether you are or not, having those scripture-based or just affirmations about who you are really important.
Right.
Buying clothes that fit really, really helps. Like treating yourself well by that. Avoiding things like social media. Like we talked about social media. Like I don't have any social media. I don't get any magazines. Right. There are certain TV shows that I've stopped watching because it just rocked my world. Like I would watch it and just spend the whole time comparing myself to the lead actress. Like those are things that I've done to make my environment a little bit easier to navigate. But in all honesty, I didn't find freedom until I took the step of faith and decided to start acting as if before I felt it. And it really boiled down to that light bulb moment where I looked back at my life and saw those missed opportunities, the things that I didn't do because I felt like I wasn't good enough. The way I spoke to myself, I have a daughter now. Oh my goodness. If I ever were to hear her speak to herself the way I spoke to myself, I don't know what I would do. I started to see those things, and I finally just said, I can't do it anymore. My life, like, I want it to be something meaningful. I want to go out and pour into other people's lives, to be used by God, to like have a purpose and a plan. And it's not going to happen when I'm stuck navel gazing in more than one way about myself. So I said, that's it. I'm stopping it. And when the thoughts came in, I said, talk to the hand. I said, I'm not going there, not because I felt like it, not because I look in the mirror and suddenly it was like, oh, I'm just great. It was because I refused to be trapped by that trap any longer.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I went out and bought some, like, it sounds funny, I bought some underwear that fit. Like, that was a big deal. I didn't want to buy underwear in my size. And how about walking around all day with underwear that are too tight, are going to remind you that your body might not be exactly where you want to be. I went, you know, I did things. I had events. I did speaking. I have a blog, you know. I wasn't waiting to do these things until I got to just to where I wanted to go. And the way I thought, the way I saw myself, it slowly started to catch up. Not quickly, slowly. The more I treated myself like I was loved by God, that he knit me together in my mother's womb, that he picked my eye color. Like, oh, I love to paint. I'm not a very good painter, but I love it. And I love color and picking the colors and blending them. The more that I appreciated that God did that for me, not because I thought it was great, not because if I had a magazine, I'd pick it out if I could pick one, but because he picked it for me, things started to change. And it was amazing. And so the tool is sort of this radical acceptance, I would call it. Not in a like, oh, I accept it. All right, here we go. I'm going to like, you know, no, in a like, Lord, here are my hands. I accept the gift you've given me. Forgive me for not appreciating it, and help me change my heart. And that was the thing that clicked it. And that is the place I go when it starts to get rocky again. Right.
Yeah. Well, and it all starts with action, obviously. But before that, what I'm hearing is it sounds like it starts with words. Words are powerful, right? Death and life are in the power of the tongue. And seeing yourself as though you were, right? Or as though you could be, as I should say. It's having a mental picture of where you want to be as opposed to where you are right now. And then trying to live that way. Seeing yourself like God sees you instead of seeing yourself how you see you.
Yeah. I mean, nothing physically changed. Yeah. Nothing physically changed at all. But I think we can all relate to gaining 10 pounds in 5 seconds. Like, you could be feeling good and something happened. Then you look in the mirror and all of a sudden you're like, oh, picking yourself apart. It was really a mental shift that could only be work of God for me, because I battled it for decades and decades. Right.
Now, in terms of mental shift, that word really resonates with me, because I had so many opportunities in my life to make a decision to lose weight, of which I describe one or two of them in the first 2 chapters of my book, which people can download for free. But I had all of these moments in life where I should have made that change, but I didn't. It wasn't until something happened where all of a sudden that was it. I'm going to do this. It was no longer, in the future. No, it was now. And from what you've been telling me today, it sounds like you got to a place where all of a sudden it was like, this is it. I'm doing this. Did you also have moments in your journey where you had those epiphanies, but didn't really make that change yet? And then finally you did? What did that look like?
Okay, so I will say in my journey to food freedom, I had those moments. But in body image, it was something I really wrestled with and I really held back on, because I was so afraid to let it go for fear that God would want me to be overweight, or, I pictured myself just looking super unattractive, or just letting myself go. And that was really something that I struggled with. It wasn't until I I had trouble conceiving, that I started to be willing to give it to God just a little bit, because of my exercise and dieting routines had left my body unable to conceive. And that was when I started to say, okay, this obviously isn't working for me, and I have to be willing to change a little bit. And for me, that meant gaining some weight. For other people, it will mean the opposite, right? They need to lose weight to be a little healthier. Right. For me, that meant being willing to be different than what I thought was part of my identity and part of my worth. And as I took that action step, it started to change. But man, I really held on to that with clenched fists for a long time. And I think that's why I stayed stuck.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are in that same situation, right? There's a lot of things going on that they just don't know how to come to grips with. So getting unstuck sometimes needs some help, right?
Absolutely.
Like I know for myself, I needed a great support system in order to go through the journey that I decided, okay, this is it. I'm going to do this now, right? And I thank God that I had that support system, but not everybody does. But support, would you say support is a very important part of that?
Yeah, I'm one of those people who just has a couple of close friends. And so it was very nice to be able to share that openly with those who I could really trust, and also finding that counselor that I clicked with. And I know finding a counselor is a tedious process because you have to go through the whole intro thing and all that kind of stuff every single time. But it was so worth it to me to keep pursuing it until I found someone that spoke my language. And then when she spoke, it really helped resonate with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I want to go back just for a moment here. When we talk about body image, you had mentioned that you needed to gain a little bit of weight in order to conceive, right? Now, a lot of people that are going to be watching this want to lose weight. So, you know, they're on a different journey. But really, body image, what is that? I mean, it can be different for everyone. Everybody's built differently, right? We've got different things happening in our body in terms of health problems and whatever. And, you know, do we have to hit that correct weight size that the government says we should be at? So what does body image look like for just an individual person? And how can they be happy with that? How should they be happy with that?
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating. And the more that I dig into it, the more I see how widespread it is. People who have disabilities are dealing with their own body image acceptance issues, right? Like that's something I can't even contemplate. And it makes me feel embarrassed that I would struggle with something as trivial, right? As my body. But to me, the Lord knows that it was a battle, and it was just something that he was using to take my heart. But yes, there's all kinds of struggles that come along with that. And I think that it boils down to contentment, like good body image, like proper body image is a place of contentment and self-care. It means you're not denying yourself what you need to be effective in your life. It's not, I think for a lot of us, it could feel like icky, like, oh, I don't want to feel like I'm so great or I'm so hot. And that's the world system of what body image is. It's self-promotion. And God doesn't bless that. That's not what it's all about. It's about treating yourself like you're valuable and getting yourself the sleep, the food, the exercise, the care that you need. And so that really is, I believe, what it boils down to.
Exactly. Absolutely. I agree with you. And I think creating unrealistic goals is not good for people either. You know, I know when I went in my weight loss journey, my dietitian said, okay, what's your weight loss goal? Right now, I could have said, oh, this is what the government goal is. But I decided in my heart, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pick a number that I felt comfortable with, and that was 210 pounds. Now, when you're 400 pounds, I mean, going down to 210 is considerable, right? But hey, I'm 60 years old. I'm not in my 20s anymore. So to be 185 pounds is unrealistic. People would say, hey, are you okay? Do you have cancer? I mean, You know, when you have extreme weight loss, you get those kind of questions anyways, but it even exacerbates when you're even thinner. So honestly, at 210, and I got down to 200, so I was like so happy. And hey, I've got still a little bit of a ring, I've got a lot of loose skin, but honestly, I'm really happy where I'm at. Despite what anybody else thinks, I'm happy where I'm at. And I think that's where people should be too, is start with small goals, right? Whatever that is, whatever the body image thing is. I mean, today we're talking about weight loss because the Transformation Summit is what we're coming up to here, what we're doing. And but a lot of people are coming into this for other reasons, right? So body image just isn't weight loss. What else does body image look like besides weight loss to you?
Oh boy. Well, it's about the vehicle. Like, your body is your vehicle. Now, I'm not one, we need to eat to live, not live to eat. Like, I think food is great and it should taste good and it's an important part of our lives. And I think exercising and movement is wonderful, but it's not the thing, right? We can focus on that, can become the idol, the central thing that we're focused on, where really we just want to take good care of ourselves so that you can go out and live the dreams that you have. I mean, for years, I didn't even know what I like to do. You asked me what I like to do, I would have been like, oh, exercise and read diet books. Like, I didn't know anything else. As I started to align those things so that, yes, I'm taking care of myself, but no, it's not such an important thing that it's all I think about, or it's not so important that I never think about it. Once I found that spot, that middle line where I was able to do that and also live the rest of my life, then I see my body for what it is. In fact, we're homeschooling my daughter and she's in first grade. Listen, I love children's books, like, because they speak on my level. Like, you get a kid's book on like digestion or muscles or the way your eyes work. Oh, it just fires you up with gratitude for the way that God designed our bodies. And so we've just been having so much fun just thinking about it as we walk, and all the little muscles and bones in our feet. They're so intricate. To be able to walk is such a blessing. And so I think body image is seeing that intricacy and that creation and marveling at it and being grateful for what you do have. And that will change the way that you treat yourself as well, the way you eat and exercise. It's really interesting how this dynamic works.
Oh, that's awesome. Very, very good, Brandice. We've only got a few minutes left here. So what would be the last thing that you would like to leave people with?
Yeah, I would say it's not all or nothing. It's not like I either have bad body image or I have good body image. And if I can't get to where she's saying I need to be, then I'm not even going to bother, right? Dip your toes in. Say, you know what, this week, when I say something unkind to myself, I'm going to say, is that really true? Or I'm going to put a scripture or some kind of affirmation on the mirror, right where my belly is, because that's the thing I'm always being negative about. And it's just those little purposeful steps, and take back your freedom and your joy one tiny little step at a time. And I promise you, if you can stay consistent with it, even when it feels like it's not doing anything, it will do something.
That's excellent. Well, thank you so much, Brandice, for your time. And before we go here, I understand you've got a free resource that's available to anyone that wants it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my website is Grace Filled Plate, and just my favorite thing to offer new people to my list is my faith is greater than food. Email, it's like a mini course. It's so good. There's so many solid action steps that you can take moving forward that will help you find grace in your eating so that you're actually living a higher standard in your food without the burden of trying to meet a diet. It's awesome. So it's Excellent. Right there on the top of my website. Excellent. On every page.
Perfect. And we will drop it into the chat area as well, because it's a fairly long URL. So I encourage everyone to go there and sign up for Faith Food Email Course. Okay.
Yep.
You won't regret it. Anyways, thanks, Brandice, for spending some time
Thanks.
with us. And I know we'll stay connected in the future. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.